What's up, everybody? Hope you've had a great week so far. My podcast guest this week is Mr. Porter McKnight from the band Atreyu. Some of you may know him as Mark, but pretty much on all of his socials, and as he kind of makes a joke too when we talk about beer on this, typically goes by Porter on everything else. A little bit of a backstory. I honestly have never really talked to Mr. McKnight or in any great length at all. I've met him at a couple of shows. He's done some tours with some people that I know in some of the bands throughout the years. But in the grand scheme of things, he's pretty much a stranger to me. And I had reached out to him initially because I wanted to talk to him about his photography, something I think he does a really great job with, mainly architecture and landscapes, and sometimes both of those combined. But I feel like a lot of people may not know that he is as versed in photography and graphic design stuff as he is. So I kind of wanted to put a little spotlight on that. But subsequently, like we do on podcasts, we didn't necessarily stay on that one particular topic and kind of ventured into his recent move to Germany, which was interesting to discuss with him. The love of craft beer, whether it be the beer with really rich history as far as like how long they've been making the beer out in Germany, or beers and breweries and stuff like that that are kind of making their name around here in the Grand Rapids area. So without further ado, here's my episode with Mr. Porter McKnight of the band Atreyu. We will talk about your juice blends.
Sinister out the fucking gates. Okay, sorry.
Nice.
I'm going to see them tonight. I don't know why that just pops into my head. Anyways,
I was going to say, yeah, you said you were going to see Avenged tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting that, well, I guess it's a little bit different probably for you to go to shows like that, because, I mean, it's more like, hey, we're hanging out with friends, as opposed to being like, I'm going to a show because I want to go to a show.
No, I mean, I like the new record. I haven't liked their music in the past. I'm not going to lie. I would even tell them that. Like, it wasn't my thing. I respected them, and I understand why they are doing so well. I just never enjoyed it. And then we were in Australia on this with Atreyu last. Brandon had the new record and was playing me a bunch of it. I was like, this is fucking awesome. So I listened to it a bunch now. So I'm actually excited for the first time to see them play as well. I'm friends with them. I'm acquaintances with them, but I didn't grow up in Orange County, so I'm not like best friends with those dudes or anything, you know? And I'm kind of like not the guy on tour that's a social butterfly usually. So it's not like I know those guys, they know me. We like and talk to each other and can have good conversation. But I don't even know if I'm going to see them tonight. I have no idea. I just had Brandon hook me up. So we'll see. All I know is that they have the fucking Cirque du Soleil people doing their production for this tour. So it's going to be ridiculous.
I've been listening to a few different podcasts with those dudes being on it. And it's interesting because the Shadows was talking about how the inspiration for that was actually him going to see Kanye on this last tour, which I don't know if you're a Kanye fan. I don't know if you've seen him live, especially on this last tour. I did have the pleasure of seeing it, and it was
I just know he did that catwalk thing.
Yeah.
Or not I can't even call that a catwalk. I don't even know.
No, it was more like just like a moving platform.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. And again, I don't know if you went to it or really saw many clips.
I did not. I saw clips of his breakdown and other things. People liking it. Too.
Yeah, but
not just the bad part.
Right. No, it was interesting because like I also part-time like do show reviews for a local like online I guess a zine per se, but whatever. And I had asked to initially review it. We didn't get clearance to do it, and then one of like the bigger local things around here got to cover it. But you could tell when reading it that this dude just didn't like Kanye, didn't like his music, wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, just was letting his own views come across.
Yeah, I never like when people do that. When people send someone that hates it, or at least be neutral. Don't be,
Yeah, and so like the thing he was saying is he was like, in typical Kanye fashion, he made the show all about himself. You couldn't see a band. The band was tucked away somewhere else. Granted, it was a DJ that was actually... Actually, I thought the walkaway for me was how interesting it was that they were able to hide all the production stuff, like your soundboard, for like in a show that size. Like they just kind of hid it in some of like the press boxes and stuff like that. And then the DJ was like hidden directly in front, so he kind of always had a visual with Kanye in case they wanted to change something up like last minute. But the thing about it was that I thought was interesting was the dude's like going on about like how it's all egotistical and about Kanye, but you couldn't see Kanye. And I go, I think you're missing out on what it's about, which is it's about the music. Kanye makes all the music, so why would there be a band? It is his music that he made for the most part.
Yeah,
so
totally.
At that point,
you're going to a Kanye West show.
Yeah.
You're not going to Kanye West and the Rattlesnakes or something. Sorry, Frank Carter.
Right, no, I picked up on that. But I mean, it was like one of those things where, again, it was about the music. It was about... At its core, I think the thing that people forget when you go see a show is it's about the fucking music and about creating an atmosphere for everyone to have fun. And by taking all the lights and not really necessarily putting them on Kanye himself, but making it more about setting a mood and a vibe and just letting everyone have fun, I think that's what the reviewer missed completely. And I feel like a lot of people missed that, and I feel like that's something... I don't know if that's what Avenged is going to be doing on this thing, you know, kind of putting more of the focus on creating an atmosphere and a vibe as opposed to, hey, we're 4 or 5 dudes roaming around on a big platform.
I mean, I'm very curious. I don't know anything besides just the Cirque du Soleil reference, so I'm stoked.
Should be a good time out. Hopefully you'll post something somewhere on your social so others can see what that ends up looking like as well.
I will put it on Instagram story.
There you go. I still haven't used that. How do you feel about that?
I like it.
Do you?
I think it's fun. I mean, I used Snapchat for a while, and it's nice to not have to deal with a whole other application. and I'm not the type of person that, like, I don't feel the need to, like, post selfies or show myself at any point, really, ever.
Right.
I actually don't enjoy it. So but it's nice sometimes because I sometimes go to some rad shit, you know? So it's nice to share with the people that care, like these stuff that might not be like post on Instagram or post tweets about it or whatever, you know? They can get a little bit of behind the scenes.
Do you, kind of funny to say that you're not big on necessarily socials per se. Do you find it kind of like a weird contradiction given the fact that you like
We need to start this interview, or did we actually start it?
Oh, I started it like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. Started right when you made the Sinister Gates reference with the juice cleanse that we haven't talked about.
Oh, awesome.
Because I don't know. I
had no idea we'd started yet. I thought we were still in pre-interview mode.
You fell into the podcast trap of oh, are we recording? Oh yeah, we've been recording for the last couple minutes.
Fair enough.
I feel like
I wasn't shit talking Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. By the way, I love Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes. Really,
no,
I just was and the reference. Just wanted to clear that out.
No, it's fine.
As I said that, I was like, that sounded kind of rude. I'm glad we weren't recording.
No, well, if you need to, I can edit that out.
No, it's not the end of the world. I'm just kidding. You said I'm not. It's ironic that I'm not interested in socials or something.
It's sort of is. I mean, given the fact that you're into photography and stuff like that, and granted, I guess photography isn't about you being the subject, but whatever the subject is that you are, obviously wanting to capture. But it's just kind of interesting to hear you say like, you'd rather not, I guess, and kind of putting words in your mouth, oversaturating your socials with a bunch of shit.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily the guy that feels the need to post that. And that's nothing wrong if you do. Like, if you like posting pictures of yourself or your food or your dogs or whatever. But I use social media as an outlet for the photos that I take. That's pretty much exclusively it. Like, I have a Twitter account. I rarely ever post shit. I'll retweet some stuff about Manchester United or, varying and assorted things. But I rarely make, like, funny thing happened to me while in line today at the grocery store. Like, I'm not that guy, and I've never been that guy, and I don't really feel, for my own personal self, the merit of it, So my Instagram, maybe in the very beginning when I didn't really understand the power of it, I was actually looking at it the other day, like the beginning of it, I have like a post of like some vitamins in my hand because I went to grab my vitamins and there were 2 nails in it. I just thought that was funny, so I was like, I'll post this on Instagram. I don't know. And then I realized, like, the power of it and how I could like really utilize this as an art form. So not an art form, but like a outlet for the art, you know, which is to be fairly honest, an exciting thing after years of having portfolio sites where you never have any fucking clue if anyone goes to it or, you know, so that's why, I just never really post shit about myself. So that's why Instagram stories are kind of fun, and why Snapchat is kind of fun, because it's just this temporary thing. You can post just stupid shit, you know, but it's also nice for, like, I went to watch the local soccer team here, Darmstadt is where I live in Germany, and they played Borussia Dortmund yesterday, and Dortmund are fucking huge. It's this massive team. And I've followed them, or not followed them, but I've seen them play in, you know, all these different leagues for years, and always wanted to see them. So I got to see it at this smaller stadium in my now hometown, and that's just fucking cool. And Darmstadt won, which was like literally David and Goliath. It was incredible. It was one of the most exciting atmospheres I've ever been to. So it's nice to show little things like that. And the video saves on my phone, so it's like two birds in one stone.
So I assume you moved out to Germany because your love of soccer and being close, and then not having to change your sleep schedule to wake up early to see these games.
That's purely it. Yes, it has nothing to do with love or meeting a wonderful woman. Yeah.
Nope, soccer.
No,
football.
Yeah.
Football.
No, I met a girl. That classic story.
What?
And we had dated for a while, and I was over here pretty much all the time, anyways. And then one day I was like, you know what? There's no reason I need to be in California. And I've lived in California for 15 years. I'm way too fucking pale for this much sun. And I needed more trees and rain anyways. So I was just kind of itching to do something.
I believe that's what the Pacific Northwest is for.
I'm just going to... Yeah, agreed. That could have been a next move. I actually almost moved to Scotland before the band started playing again. We can go to that story later. But yeah, so I just figured it would be nice to move over here for 1, 2, 10 years. I have no idea. There's no long-term 5-year plan, but
do you feel that maybe given the nature of your career or your profession, that it's a little bit easier to kind of pack up and move cross country like that, since you don't really have...
I think it helps. I think it definitely helps that, I mean, the band is fully supports my move. They know that I'm not from California like they are, you know, that I don't have any real reason to be there besides them, and obviously the friends and family that I would be leaving behind. My sister lives in California. My best friends in my life live in California, so it wasn't an easy thing to move, but I fucking love traveling, and I love architecture, and I love like old architecture, and I love seeing, like, I don't know, like that's one of the biggest things besides my girlfriend is just being I'm 20 minutes from Frankfurt Airport, and I could hop on a plane to Prague, like literally right now if I wanted to go, for like cheaper than it would be to fly to like Dallas. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. So
Yeah.
I love being over here and I can just go walk through this city and I can see streets that are like with cobblestones older than America, which is really it's really wonderful, you know?
I was going to say, it seems like what bit of your photography that I've kind of seen, and a lot of it was mainly during like the MySpace days when you had like your own page for it. But I know I stumbled across the one on Facebook, which I didn't know even existed until the other day.
Yeah, it hasn't since for like 8 years or something. I probably haven't put anything. I actually put something up new like a month ago.
Yeah, I noticed that. So when I feel like there was, I mean, granted, like, I know it's probably a little bit harder when you're traveling the States and, you know, within reason, if you haven't been to a venue or around the area that often, you kind of don't really know what there is. And usually it's like, here's like a random strip mall, here's gas stations, whatever. Or maybe you're in centrally located downtown. But it seemed like, you know, at least on the MySpace page, a lot of your photography back in the day seemed like there's a lot of inspiration from the old like cathedrals and stuff like that overseas that you were shooting. So it definitely seems like that was kind of more where you creatively for your photography seemed like you were a lot more
Well,
inspired, I should say.
yeah, I mean, you're definitely correct in that statement. I have always, no matter whether it's the U.S. or in Europe, I've always tried to make use of where we are. for instance, like when I lived in California and we had international tours, I would either go over to Europe 2 weeks early and meet the band, or stay 2 or 3 weeks later. And some of my best friends in the world now live in Edinburgh, Scotland. Excuse me. And so I would always go there, and I would always travel around here and there whenever I had the time. And every day I wake up, let's say in Hamburg, I would just get up and see where I was. Or I would research it the day before and try and see what's around, and try and, in between sound checks or whatever, or on days off, just explore. And even in the States, I do that. Like, we played El Paso recently, is just what comes to mind. And El Paso around the venue was fucking incredible. It really was. Like, I wandered around twice and took photos. It was really, really beautiful. And so I try my damnedest to do that in the U.S. as well. But like you said, sometimes you're at the Orbit Room in Grand Rapids, where there's a strip club and a mall, and there's just nothing else around there. And you can go the extra mile and rent a car and like go see something, but it's just sometimes you just don't feel like putting all that amount of effort in, you know?
Do you feel like
so? That's one of the beautiful parts about overseas, is that everything is usually walkable. There's always some sort of tram service, you know? So
I was going to say, do you find that maybe now with like Ubers being more readily available everywhere in the U.S., in the States, do you find that kind of maybe helps allow you to get a little further out if you're stuck in a concrete jungle?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we use, on this last touring cycle for Long Live, we use Ubers all the time to get around. It makes life so much easier. Every day, like, fuck, I want food. Where do we go? You know, everyone, I'm taking an Uber to Chipotle. What do you want? And it makes life a lot easier.
I'm still surprised people love Chipotle as much as they do.
Dude, I fucking love it. There actually is the only Chipotle in Europe is like 20 minutes away from me in Frankfurt.
I'm sure that's not.
It's actually it's right next to the venue in Frankfurt that Avenged is playing tonight, and I'm really debating asking my girlfriend if we could go there, even though I looked up like other nicer places around that.
Is getting used to the food kind of was that a little bit of a, not a challenge, but a thing you had to get used to, is just maybe some of your food options not being the same or as readily available?
It's definitely different. Like, I miss Trader Joe's, I miss Whole Foods, I miss even just like basic grocery stuff there. I really do miss. California is the fucking mecca. Like, Los Angeles, you can get anything you want at all times, and it's incredible. But the food here is really, 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 really wonderful too. Although it's fucking awful for you for the most part.
Why is it awful for you?
Well, it's like, you know, bratwurst and beer, or like we were just in Bayern the other day, and there's this stuff called Spatzel. I can never fucking say it. No, not schnitzel.
Okay.
Spatzel.
Okay.
It's like this like egg noodle-y type thing with cheese all over it, and it's fucking amazing. Or you'll have like some sort of steak, and it's all really, really good. It's just really, really hearty as well. And I think that is one of the most exciting parts about traveling as well, is eating like different specialities in the different areas. Like, normally I cook at home, and normally I eat like more on the vegan side of things. Like, I don't really eat meat when I cook at home. I don't eat any cheese or drink any milk. And I've actually learned in the last like year and a half about that, and how I just feel fucking amazing when I don't. I'm not like militant vegan guy that gets mad at anyone or cares. And I didn't necessarily even start doing it to like save the animals or anything. I just felt a lot better, you know? And so, but that's my thing, is like, I would never label myself a vegan, because if I want something, I'll fucking eat it. Like, when I'm back in the South, I'll go get barbecue, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I eat fish from time to time still. Like, I'll still eat sushi. I mean, like, when we were in Bayern recently, I had like this like steak with bacon on it and onions and those spatzel with Käse, and my gut fucking hurts. But, you know, I want to taste it. I want to experience it. I want to try new things.
Speaking of trying some of the new things out there, how is the beer game out there? I imagine it's really plentiful.
It's awesome. It's nothing like what it is in America. I mean, America has its staple breweries that you can get anywhere, you know, that are okay. And then we have this whole new beautiful craft beer thing. It's so good, obviously, in the States. Like, there's so many options, and that's a wonderful thing of what you say, like the past like 5 to 7 years, craft breweries gotten big in the States.
I was going to say, you're talking to someone from Beer City, USA, the last 3 years running.
There you go. Well done. So over here, it's different. Like, there's my favorite place to get beer here is called Ratskala, and I think Ratskala is like originally like not town hall because that's Booga House, but it's some sort of like meeting point or the mayor's thing. I don't know, but it's this in the middle of the city. It's a place called Ratskala. It's a super old building, and the beer there, it's only on tap. You can't buy it anywhere. It's not bottled. You can buy a growler if you want, but it's some of the best beer I've ever had. And there's like a really old brewery called Groa here, and you can go there and you can get the beer. You can buy that in stores as well. But it feels like there's just more of a history here, and all the shit tastes amazing. It's not like, I mean, Coors Light served its purpose in my life, you know, but I've drank it many, many a times, but it's not something like I would go to that's refreshing.
What?
And I would never, you know.
Yeah, no.
But like
are you
going down the street to some brewery here is so fucking cool.
Are you
and it's
more
nothing
of a,
like? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, are you more of like an ale kind of person, or is there like a wide range of like you got your stouts, your porters, your IPAs, or just more ales?
I'm pretty malleable in that whole world. I don't really like porters, strangely enough, or like a lot of the stouts. I just don't like that sort of like thickness, I guess you could say. Yeah. But I do like barley wines and shit, so I don't understand why I would like that and not a stout. But
personal preference.
That being said, I've had stouts that I liked. Anyways, I'm not really that picky. Like I like beer that has a good flavor and a good taste to it. I wouldn't really just like to drink beer. Like, you know, I'm not that guy.
It's interesting just to have seen, because growing up here, well, not really growing up, but living out here in Grand Rapids for about a decade now, we have Founders, we have a lot of breweries that are popping up, and
Founders is incredible.
Yeah, and they've gotten bigger. They're actually making another like tap room that's going to do just like specialty drinks or specialty beers. So it's my wife and I keep making the joke that downtown's turning into Founders City because they're just buying up everything.
That's not a bad thing, though.
No, it's not. And then it's like, you know, we got Bell's about an hour away in Kalamazoo.
Bell's is amazing too.
And then we just got basically all the best of the other breweries around Michigan. Like we got a Atwater, who has one of my favorite beers in the Vanilla Java Porter. It's absolutely amazing. But no, it's interesting to kind of see like, because I feel like kind of like you're saying, the beer game was like very strong, and you know more of the beer overseas was always had like a story, a background to it, kind of like, you know, being a Jack Daniel's fan, something I always kind of learned to love about it was just that it was rich in history. Like this was how it was made way back in the, you know, 1700s or whatever, and we haven't changed the recipe and so on and so forth. Or maybe we'll do these like limited one-offs, you know, based on a recipe from something, you know, and we'll have a backstory about how it was. These bottles were made for riverboat captains who used to come into the Tennessee area for whatever. And I'm not really, you know, it's kind of interesting that you say that, because I've always kind of felt that that's something that just over in Europe and Germany and where, you know, a lot of places in general just have so much history that we don't have because the Americans haven't been around as long.
Yeah, I had a beer from 1268 or something. The brewery's been open that long.
Wow. And they haven't changed any of their processes in that time at all?
I have no idea. I was just at some random restaurant that was the only thing near our Airbnb before we were going to a castle the next day, and that they didn't speak any English, and that was the only beer they had on tap. But it was amazing. Have
you learned to pick up any, like, I've noticed you've kind of spoken some of the language out there. Like, have you been picking that up a lot more, trying to...
Yeah. Ja, ich verstehe Großdeutsch, aber ich spreche nur ein bisschen Deutsch. That means that like I understand a lot, but I can only speak a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really hard to like formulate the sentences. But I've picked up so much just by being here, and once I finish this visa process, which fingers crossed is going to happen next week, I'm going to dedicate at least an hour of my day to deep Rosetta Stoning or go find some sort of class that I can take. The problem with classes is my schedule is completely all over the place and has no rhyme or reason. So it's hard for me to, you know, take a 3-month course because I'm going to be in America in a month and a half or go to Scotland next week. I have no idea. So, well, but yes, I am learning, and it's very fucking tough. It's not an easy language, but I really enjoy it. So the problem is everyone just speaks too fucking fast.
I was going to say, I think that's what I've heard of really any language anyone tries learning that's not their own. It's just that people talk way too fast, so you're not able to pick up on the nuances of a sentence.
Sehr schnell.
Yep. um,
Oh, I was going to say before, one more thing about alcohol before the subject changes.
okay.
They have something here in Hessen. Hessen is the area of Germany I'm living in. It's like Bayern or, whatever. But Hessen has this stuff called Apfelwein. And it's just an apple wine, essentially. But it's not like, don't imagine it like cider. Like cider is way sweeter.
Right.
It's this wonderful, wonderful drink. And it only exists in Hessen. There might be a couple places that, carry it near here. But it's not like you can't get this at, somewhere in Brooklyn or something. It's this wonderful, wonderful little thing that I highly suggest trying.
Are you noticing the resurgence in like craft cocktails and distilleries? I mean, I'm only able to really speak on what I'm finding that's happening around here, but we're getting a lot of distilleries that are opening up locally and doing crazy things like a dry hop barrel finished gin. That's absolutely amazing. To different places kind of collaborating with each other, like founders maybe taking some of the bourbon barrels for their special releases or whatever.
I have seen a few things like that here and there.
Oh.
There's nothing like that over here that I know of. I know, like, my friend who's a graphic designer, he lives in Denmark, and I've seen him design a couple labels for different things, so I'm assuming that exists, but not to my face yet.
Okay.
But we have so many craft breweries in America. Why not have craft whiskeys and all that sort of shit,
I kind of figured maybe with there being like you were saying with the beer, like the rich history of, we've had this beer for, hundreds and hundreds of years. I figured maybe there would be some more distilleries out around that way that would be kind of the same way with, small batch bourbons or, rye whiskeys or whatever.
I've had some like crazy fucking bottles of stuff with like devils on it that tastes like a way more intense Jägermeister, or like this one with like this goat lifting up a girl's skirt on it. I don't know, but I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? I haven't really dabbled in that world too much, but it's pretty fun when I do.
I think that would be the most fun to me about traveling around, is just seeing how, everybody has like an IPA or a stout or a porter or whatever, and it's always interesting to see everyone's take on what they think, these things should taste like. So I think it'd be interesting to travel around and just basically drink around the world.
I think most, I'm honestly not like an aficionado or anything, but I think most of the German beers I've had are just like basic lager type things.
Okay.
And they have different options. They have like, Doppelbocks or Darks or whatever, but most standards, it's just a lager, I think.
How far away are you from where they do the Oktoberfest?
That's here. Bayern is where it's most famous for.
Okay.
And like all the shit that is stereotypically German, essentially, is just Bayern.
Okay.
It's not like that everywhere else. But everywhere has their own Oktoberfest. You have to wear the lederhosen and the whole thing. My girlfriend I really wanted to go, and she didn't want me to go dressed normal. She's like, no, we have to get the whole thing. We have to like buy tickets and do it like legit. I'm like, okay. So next year.
Next year. Well, I guess I'll have to wait a year to see how that actually looks.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard about this maybe, but there's something called a Christmas market every year, like Weihnachtsmarket. And it's every year, like at the end of November till Christmas. And it's fucking amazing. It's just the whole town in the middle of it has food, and they sell all these like handmade local goods, and they have Glühwein, which is like a mulled wine sort of thing. Okay. And it is amazing. Like you just walk into the city, and every day from 11 in the morning till 11 at night, you can just go get a Glühwein and have some bratwurst and whatever. It's fucking awesome. I drank so much and definitely gained a few pounds from that. I didn't drink for almost the entirety of January because of that. I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm done.
Man, I feel like I could just keep talking about drinking just because it's always...
We probably should change the subject eventually.
Actually, the reason I kind of really wanted to have you on, in general, was just to really talk about your photography, because it's something that always kind of drew me to, because as you said earlier, that you are kind of a reserved, quiet person typically. which is funny because you're the other screamer in the band you're
Yeah,
in. Uh,
I'm a fucking madman on stage. I just run around like an idiot, and it's another side.
I know, the duality is not lost on me. Um, but it's
Great record.
yes. um, I guess that is what happens when you push your fingers into your eyes. Um, but I don't know that a lot of people know that you are as good of a photographer as I think you are.
Thank you.
And granted, like we've kind of discussed, your main subject matter is architecture. Although you've been known to throw random people into interesting landscapes.
Yeah,
Um,
landscape and architecture is mainly.
how did you come to find your love of photography? But I guess even more so, like, what drew you to architecture and landscapes specifically?
Um, well, the classic. My dad bought my first camera story. I was in like eighth grade, I think, and my dad gave me a camera, and I went out and shot 8 rolls of film that day, which I'm sure he instantly regretted for how expensive that was to develop. But I just really fell for it, I guess you would say. I don't know. I really, really, really loved just taking photos, and it would be the dumbest shit, It'd be like the deposit box on a bank. But I would take a lot of stuff of typography as well back then, a lot of architecture and shape and function and form, which I would say also led me to the graphic design side of my life, because that's one of the coolest things about being a photographer is most of my graphic design projects use my photography as well. So it's really fun to combine that. Like I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of photos I've shot that are absolute fucking terrible photos, but for the design purposes, they're just sitting there waiting. And there's no better feeling than like having a design project and then be like, oh shit, that photo I took of these stairs in Edinburgh 2 years ago, there we go. There was a purpose to that,
It's funny you say that. I just learned that blanking on his name, the bass player from Killswitch, Mike D, that he does all a lot of graphic design stuff. And recently on their most recent Blu-ray or whatever, he was saying I take a lot of photos, like you were saying, which I didn't know he took photos at all. And he goes, and of a lot of things like distressed glass or things like that, it just rough surfaces, things covered in rust and so forth, and then apply them into my graphic design work. And I honestly never thought about how you would kind of do that to use it for that, but it's interesting to hear, like, having just seen that in the last month or so and been like, wow, I never would have put that together, I had no clue, to now hear you saying it like now that it's like you're somebody else who does the exact same thing. So I guess it's
I mean, actually, I have tons of texture photos as well, and I did all the artwork for Long Live, this last record we put out, and pretty much the entire thing is comprised of that situation. Like even the cover with the coffins on it, the cover was shot when I was in we played Soundwave, the last Soundwave that happened in Australia, and I went to New Zealand afterwards, and Dan and his girlfriend joined me, and we went to Hobbiton, and it was awesome. And then they flew out to Tahiti or something to meet Brandon and his wife. And I stayed and wandered around New Zealand and hiked this mountain and got some wonderful photos from it. And then I got back and I started doing the Long Live stuff. And I had those coffins built. I didn't even know what Long Live, the album, would be like, the theme would be like. And we had a meeting once we got back and just talked a little bit about ideas for it. And then the coffin thing came up, so I built that. Put those coffins, or our friend Joey built the coffins for us. I put those on a hill in San Diego, and then photoshopped in 10 different photos that I took on that mountain hike in New Zealand, which is actually right next to Mount Doom if you like Lord of the Rings. And then that became our cover, And then have you seen the booklet for Long Live?
I have the vinyl, and I actually had to pull up the cover to kind of a better picture of the cover to kind of see what you're talking about as you're describing it. You did a good job of blending it because you really can't tell that it's a bunch of photos not taken that way.
Yeah, the only thing that was together were the coffins placement. That's it.
And
Nothing else is
the
one
irony is,
photo.
I actually thought that the coffins would have been like digitally put in there, that you would have
No,
found. So it's interesting that the one thing I thought was actually the manipulated image is actually really there, and it's the rest of everything kind of manipulated to be put together as one image.
yeah, we had those coffins built for that purpose, and then for the long-lived video that I wrote and directed as well. It was all like a symbiotic sort of thing.
Huh.
And then, I can't remember the booklet for the vinyl. I think just has photos of us and the
that's what I'm
thank yous.
remembering. Yeah.
But the booklet for the CD has for each person's photo, like the photo of Dan when he's looking into the grave that we actually dug for him. That was fucking awful. It's not easy digging graves. Like when they do that in movies and shows, they like dig it real quick. One guy's in there, and you're like, this can be so bad. It was. We had to get like a fucking power tool diggers. It was horrible. Anyways, so I designed a like matching art piece for each person's death scene, if you will. So Dan's was Earth related and had a couple of different photos that I took in Scotland on the Isle of Skye combined together, and then Alex's was this combination of stuff that I took in like 2012 at Big Sur mixed with. Actually, his was actually two Big Sur combos. Brandon's was the bonfire of from his video death scene.
Okay.
And a building of some like farmer's market like sort of thing in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Travis was this combination of Brussels in Belgium, Amsterdam, in Edinburgh. And my stuff was a forest in Alabama and a library in Adelaide, Australia. So it was just all stuff that I'd taken along the way. There was nothing shot specifically for that besides the pictures of the like death ghoul looking like people or the coffins. So
how do you, when you're doing a project like this, how do you know which, like, do you, like, you're able to, it's interesting as you are recounting these photos that you used. Do you just have like a memory like that, like where you're like, man, okay, I took a shot of whatever, somewhere in New Jersey, and there was a cool texture I remember all of a sudden that I'm looking for, and I think I shot it around this time frame of a year. Like, do you have like the Rolodex in your mind like that to be able to kind of pull photos that you've taken over the years, or is it a little
sometimes yes and sometimes no? Like for Alex's water one, I knew that I had shot a bunch of stuff that looked really cool from Big Sur. So I was like, okay, let's go back, look through my Big Sur photos. And so I got like, I put like 15 photos in a Photoshop document and like started fucking with them. And so then I found it and it worked. For Brandon's, I had the fire thing and I was like, what could be cool here? And I think we had maybe recently gone to Lancaster or something. I don't know. And so I had that photo. I was like, oh, this could look cool. And so I just fucked around and placed it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have the set idea in your head, and sometimes it's just happy accidents. Sometimes you'll just have like after a few hours of ramming your head against the screen and not finding anything you like, you have a light bulb turn on. It's all over. I definitely have that Rolodex. Like if I need a photo, I can remember times that I've probably taken that photo, but it's not always the case.
It's interesting. I'll have to go back through. Actually, I've always kind of thought it was weird, and kind of changing gears a little bit, because you brought up that the insert for the vinyl is different than the jacket or the booklet for the CD. I always hear older people when they talk about the thing about vinyl was that you open it up and it's an immersive medium. You got the jacket, you pull it out, you look at the booklets and inserts and things like that. And for the most part, I'm finding that a lot of vinyl now doesn't have a lot of that. Like they kind of condense. I mean, granted, it would make the packaging a lot bigger. It probably costs a lot more to ship out. So I mean, I understand why, but it seems like vinyl nowadays is, as much as it's awesome and they do cool things with colors and variants and so forth, that you kind of miss out on some of the inside details that go in like to the CD booklets and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was purely a cost thing. I would have made them identical, except the label was like, yeah, it's going to cost too much to have a 12-page booklet and a vinyl. It'll just be too thick. I'm not sure it'll fit. I'm like, oh, can we please? They're like, no. I'm like, well, I guess these are the most superfluous things as the art pieces, So
it's kind of, I don't know. It's funny you say that like, and probably to the casual person who's buying it, yeah, I guess they probably don't care because they just want to listen to the music. But as someone who loves everything, the whole package, obviously there was a reason that all those things were included in the packaging of the record, to kind of coincide with either the lyrics or the mood or the theme of the record or whatever. So it kind of, sometimes I feel like the vinyl people, for as much as they spend on like these double albums and so forth and special editions, sometimes we get the shaft end of the stick on some of the packaging.
Well, I mean, maybe some of them are more unique in their own way as well.
That's true.
And you get to see like the inside of the vinyl, as you can see, is that long live flower thing.
Yeah.
And that looks a lot cooler on the vinyl than it does in a little booklet.
That's
you
true.
can see more of the detail. Like I built that in a basement in Edinburgh, Scotland as well. Like I had everything, all those letters hand built, and went and found every single piece of that. So I think that it is more immersive because the print's bigger.
That's true. Yeah.
And if I could have had 12-page booklet in there, I would have, but it was just too expensive, I think, for them.
Does that with vinyl kind of being the resurgence, kind of, I guess, since you guys have been back? I mean, this is the first record really you guys have done with vinyl being as big as it is now. Has that changed maybe how you look at some of the artwork that you're going to do, knowing that it'll be done on potentially on a bigger scale, so people can kind of really look at it a lot better?
Not necessarily for this. Like I have a pretty absurdly high standard for the quality of what I'm going to make usually anyways. So every inch and every detail of that is perfect. Is exactly how I want it to be. I wouldn't say it's perfect. That's fucking but you know what I mean? Like I'm intended every single bit of that. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of those art pieces could have benefited by being printed big. Like my brother-in-law, who's a brilliant songwriter, that was one of his gripes. He was like, yeah, I mean, I gotta, like, a cool thing about this is you gotta, like, I'm old, he's like 64 or something. He's like, you gotta, like, sit under a lamp with a bright light and look at this. Like, you gotta really look at these details. But if it was in the vinyl, you might not have to have that same, or have that same affliction.
Yeah. How do you feel? Do you take a lot of stuff, a lot of photos with your iPhone? I would assume you have an iPhone, or I guess I should just say your phone in general, your camera phone.
I actually went through a period. When was it? Would it be? I think it was the end of 2012, where I was like, you know what? The iPhone's pretty fucking incredible, and I really wanted, like, I had a Canon 5D Mark II at the time, and I really wanted the Mark IV, but I didn't want to get the Mark III because who wants to spend that much money? So I was like waiting and waiting and waiting for the next edition of the Canon thing to come out, and it never did. So I was like, fuck it. My friend needed a camera, so I sold him my Mark II. So all I had was an iPhone for a while, which with the resolution I thought, I was like, yeah, this will be okay. It'll be fine. And I think after having only an iPhone to shoot with for a little over a year and then getting a camera again, I became such a better photographer. Like, A, it was a nice palette cleanse to not have to carry around 3 fucking lenses and all this stuff all the time and have to deal with that stuff. B, it was like this, you had this fixed view that you could work with, this medium that I couldn't zoom in from with a 200 millimeter from super far away and get this exact little thing. So it required me to be more creative and figure out framing a little bit different. So I do take a lot of photos on my phone, but now I still prefer to use like a real camera because, like I said, I use it for design purposes in the future and want higher resolution. So I eventually bought the Sony A7 II.
Okay.
And fucking love it. I love it, love it, love it. I want to get a new Sony version of it with higher resolution, but I don't want to spend $3,000 right now.
No, I always wonder because like I did one of these with a friend of mine who does like concert photography with me with for the reviews and stuff that we do, and we've gone around here and just kind of shocked because I feel like I have the eye for photography, but I don't have the. I'll just say I don't have the desire to drop the money on cameras and invest in something that I may not want to delve so far into for a long time. to warrant spending, like you're saying, like the $3,000 on nice cameras and lenses and so forth.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, lenses and technology and fucking camera bodies and all that shit doesn't matter. If you don't have the eye, all the lenses you can buy are gonna, there's no fucking point to it. That was an unintentional rhyme there. I'm not trying to sound rad. If you can take good photos, you can take good photos, and if you have an eye for things and to make it unique, then that's all you need.
Yeah.
Like I legitimately, like I'm always looking at stuff through that eye. And I'm always looking at it through that sort of like artistic perspective, and that never turns off. Like you said earlier, it must be nice to have the freedom of your sort of job. Because I don't really have this. I don't have to go to work from 9 to 5 at some certain place.
Right.
But I also have a job that never turns off. I never ever stop. I never stop working. My mind is never stopping thinking about that sort of stuff, and I fucking love it. You know what I mean? I would never take it. I would never have it any other way. Like I have had a desk job and I fucking hated it, even when it wasn't in the creative fields. I've worked as a graphic designer for a couple of different places and it was miserable.
Because
it's just not for me.
Not because of the I guess set hours, or more the limitations maybe that someone's like, I need you to do this, and you can't really be creative with it outside of what someone wants.
I don't know. Like I did merch design at this company for a while, and it was really, I didn't mind it. Like you show up to work every day and you sit there, but I don't know how to say this. I when I make graphic design, I like to make it for people that I care about and for situations that I care about and for shit that excites me. It's really, I'm not
a passion
the
project.
guy, like, pardon?
It's a passion project at that point.
I suppose, yeah. But like I have friends that are graphic designers, like this guy named Tom Gordon who lives in the UK. He pumps out designs like a fucking madman. And he makes, I'm sure a lot of money. And he just can literally make 10 designs a day. And, maybe 3 of them will get approved, but that's still a good day. I can make maybe 3 designs a week. Like I spend too much and each design has to be rad, perfectly rad to me. And I'm sure his designs are to him. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying his designs aren't rad. But it's just I don't have the ability to pump that sort of stuff out. So when I worked for like a design company in LA in 2012, I was making projects for like I was doing like CD proofs for like the Wallflowers and like the Hoopastank albums and like Matchbox 20 stuff and like all this stuff, and it was like cool to be doing it. But then as time went on, it was just like they're sitting over there, they're like, we need this fucking now. I'm like, cool, I'm working on it. Like I'm doing my fastest, and I work really quickly. Like if I have the idea and I have it done, it takes me no fucking time to design. Like I'm super fast. But part of the things that takes a while is the curation of the idea in my mind and the perfect thing, like a lot of video games maybe will be played in that time period, like I'll go on a hike, but just sitting there in front of a desk, like, with another tab open, searching Google Images or on like some, Pinterest or some shit, that doesn't get me motivated. So it's hard to just sit there and force it every single day. So
do you find yourself like constantly? I mean, you kind of talked about taking the time off from having an actual camera and carrying it around. Do you constantly bring your camera with you wherever you're going, even just in your daily travels, in case you find something?
I would love to, but like I said before, I have my camera body with a 24-70 lens on it, and then I have a 16-35 lens on it and a 70-200, and I like to have all the options. And my back would fucking kill me. Like my shoulders and neck would just really hurt after carrying that around all day. But like when I live in Darmstadt, like right now I could walk 10 minutes and I'm in the city center. And there are tons of things I could go shoot right now, just so some days I will set out and I will go do that. Or if like I know there are certain experiences I'm going to, I'll bring my camera along. But for the most part, I don't carry it every single day. When I lived in LA and I had a car and you drive everywhere, yeah, I would keep the camera with me and I would bring it all around. But when I'm walking everywhere, it fucking hurts.
Actually, so living where you are, like you don't have, it sounds like you just kind of said you don't have a car. Did you kind of do the thing where you kind of had to reassess all the things you have and then kind of decide what's worth keeping and what's not? Did you have to do that whole thing?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I moved out last August, I did that whole thing, and I sold a lot of stuff. I moved a lot of stuff and packed it all in boxes and put it to my sister's garage. Like, I have a lot of furniture that I like and will eventually use, and I have tons and tons of books. Like, I've collected books over the years, and I love like old books and art books and that sort of stuff. But when I moved over here, I'm trying to look around the room right now. I brought like, oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. You can edit that out. I brought like technology with me, essentially. You know, I have a laptop, I have my cameras, I have, you know, a bass guitar and a guitar in the corner over here for me to write on this next record and get to keep, you know, practice here. I brought like this little like desk decorations, you know, like little tidbits and stuff, but I didn't bring anything. I didn't ship over like a couch or like a desk or like a TV or anything like that big, you know. Anything I could bring over in a suitcase is essentially all that I have here. And it's an interesting sort of like cathartic cleanse. But that being said, I do miss some of the shit I had. But it's just stuff. I can get more stuff, and there's probably radder stuff to be gotten over here.
It's interesting. I did a podcast with a friend's wife. I don't know if you've ever heard of the band Child Bite. They're kind of making the rounds now.
No, I haven't.
But the singer and his wife, his wife is like their booking agent as well, but they also do freelance like graphic design and some, you know, multimedia stuff. But in the last year, they ended up packing, like kind of getting rid of all their stuff at their house, bought like a stream or Airstream, and then basically travel around as their home. And I don't know if it's something, because I was actually just having a conversation with my dad yesterday about this, where I go, I'm kind of getting to the point now where like I look around at stuff and I'm like, do I use this? Like, I don't fucking need this anymore. Like, I should just get rid of it. Like, because it's just taking up space. I have the memory of whatever it is attached to it, but I don't need the thing that I don't use anymore. And in talking,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, and in talking with Veronica, she was making the comment. She goes, you know, like, I don't need the poster of the Anal Cunt show where I met my husband. Like, I have the memory of meeting my husband and have the memory, like, I can pull up at any point. Like, I don't need that poster, you know, just taking up space, like, in a closet or something. Like, I don't need these things. And it's been interesting to kind of, really oddly, I've been hearing a lot of people I've been talking to kind of going through the same thing. So I don't know if it's a thing where just as a whole, like society-wise, like, we're all hitting this thing where it's like we don't need things anymore. Like, we'd rather have the experiences and the memories. Or if it's just something that once you hit a certain age, around 30-something, you're just like, I don't need this shit.
Sure. I think it's a combination of things, really. Like, from my own personal experience of this, I move like every year. I always have. I've like always just kind of moved apartments or whatever for some reason or not. It wasn't like I hated the people I was living with or the situations. I just always get that itch. I like to move around. So I've been lucky enough to do that almost yearly cathartic process of just getting rid of shit. And so I have like maybe 2 boxes, 3 boxes. I have a box of like old Atreyu stuff, you know, of old posters or articles or, you know, tour passes or whatever. I'll have that forever. And I have the certain things that I really want that I'll keep stored away. But yeah, like you said, you just don't need a lot of shit. Like, it really does feel better to have that sort of minimal sort of life where you don't have all these burdens. And I think that is a part of a culture thing. It's part of an age thing. Like, when you get older, you start to realize that a little bit more when you're about our age. But also it is a cultural thing. You know, we're becoming more intelligent and more aware people as, you know, a populace, and we are preferring to have those experiences and have those exciting times with loved ones and those memories, more so than just having the fucking souvenir keychain and that being the focus of it. And I think that goes with, you know, not everyone gets married at 25. Not everyone gets the house, the kids, the everything right away, like the original American dream, you know. That's all shifting to be these more, like, me personally, like, I'm going to have kids one day, you know, I love that. And I eventually will have a house. But for right now, like, I like to be free and I like to have these experiences. And when I do have kids, I'm going to have a lot of rad stories to tell. I have a lot of incredible photos to show them and share with them, you know?
It's interesting. I feel like that's also been a shift culturally as well. Like, the need to not have to follow any kind of like societal norms of like, oh, you're 25, you better start, trying to settle down with somebody. Oh, now that you've been married for a year, you better pop out a kid. Oh, now it's time for you to get, buy a house.
For sure. And
You're
I think that like those things were for generations, maybe not our generation, but were like force fed down people's throats. We're like, well, this is just the way you do it. It's tradition.
right.
And then time goes on, and the people that are telling you those traditions are getting divorced and can't afford to pay for this and are just having fucking miserable times. So these ideals and these ideas just kind of imploded on themselves. So now people are realizing like, my life isn't the same as your life. My life isn't the same as my drummer Brandon or any of these people. You know what I mean? Like, like we have our own ways to do this, and comparing our lives to other people is fucking stupid. If I sat here and compared myself to Ansel Adams, I would think I was a shit photographer. You know what I mean? But I'm living my life the best way that I know how, and that's through having exciting times every single day. Do you know what I mean? I just try and do the things that are the most fun to me, whether that is, like I said, playing a video game, whether it's getting my camera and going out and exploring, whether it's taking a train to Heidelberg and seeing where Bruce Willis grew up. He's actually from down the road, by the way, which is kind of funny. I had no idea until recently. There's a beautiful castle in there. Anyways, but just do what's fun. You know what I mean? And I think most people are starting to realize that, and it's more than just, fucking Instagram quotes. It's like a real thing, You just fucking have fun, man, and just follow that. So that is a byproduct. That realization has led us to not wanting as much shit and needing as much shit.
Kind of wrapping up soon. What has been? I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, is there anything really that like a major difference between moving overseas to living here in the States that like you've noticed maybe like that you weren't expecting to affect you as much as it has?
It was funny because I was texting with our singer Alex the other day, and he was, I was just telling him how like his art's looking really good, his tattooing's looking really good, and asking him about his family and stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, how's it over there?" I'm like, "It's really not that much different. It's just this, like, the language is different, the food is different, the culture is okay. Yeah, actually, it's really fucking different." Like, I just had this realization. I was like, "Shit, it really is." Like, I've always been really good about. Like, I don't have this one perspective on life that when I get into this situation, this is how it has got to be. Like, I'm very malleable and I'm very understanding, and I can move through into not any culture, but most cultures and be fine. Like, I get it. I understand. So like when I've been here, I've kind of just melded into it, I think it isn't that different to me. Sure, like the food I can get at the grocery store is slightly different, but it's not that big a deal. I'll just find my way. I don't get hung up on it that they don't have my favorite fucking tortillas here anymore, So I just kind of just move through it. I think the biggest thing that after my first really long trip here and then going back to the States was the language, because now I walk into the city and I don't really talk to anyone. I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't hear anything that I understand for the most part. I'm going into places and I'm speaking a little bit of German that I have to get by because I'm really good with like food stuff or ordering and that sort of shit. But I'm not having conversations with people besides my girlfriend. My girlfriend speaks incredible English, and there's really no lull in her understandings. And if there is, she asks me. It's no big deal, Or if we're watching a movie, she's like, "Wait, what was that?" I'm like, and I'll explain it. But I think when I came back and like talking to my sister, for instance, who's an English teacher and is very intelligent, she used the word moratorium, and I was like, "Fuck!" It was so, like, we're gonna have a moratorium, and I was like, "Yes!" Like, it was just so nice to hear. It's a beautiful word, and English has those upper tier beautiful words that all languages have. But it's just nice to be a part of that too. I think that's the hardest thing. It's like I can't use those words all the time. I could do with my girlfriend and stuff, but to her parents, to her brother, to her friends, to any of the friends that I had made over here, I'm still like speaking at a fucking 3rd or 4th grade level. So right. I think that is the hardest part. So it really does make me want to learn their language more and, in turn they'll learn my language more as well. So we'll all meet halfway.
I kind of got to ask, just out of sheer curiosity on my own part,
Shoot.
with what's going on over here politically, are you kind of keeping up with that, or
Oh yeah,
is it
I pay attention to it.
is it I mean, I would like to think that, other people like over there, they're probably just as invested in our political climate as they are maybe their own, just because it would affect everybody. But I don't know. I've been wondering how involved and how much reporting is being done over there, as far as like what people are thinking. Like, is everyone's general? And again, if you don't want to answer this due to like,
No, I don't care.
okay, I was gonna say, because I know sometimes talking personal politics, can, when you're speaking on your behalf, sometimes it lumps the other people that you are associated with and becomes a thing, which is fucking stupid. But that's a different topic.
I won't go on a rant or even really express my own. Really, I won't. We'll just talk about it. I have noticed a shift since Trump was elected. Around the time of the election, a lot of people were like, "Well, what do you think about this?" And so I gave them my feelings on the subject, and we moved on. And they're like, "Oh, that's cool." And honestly, a lot of people are shocked because a lot of people, especially because I'm from Alabama, a lot of people expect Americans to be kind of dumb and don't fully understand that we're not all like that. The shit that is put on TV for them a lot is, a lot of people they make us look fucking stupid. And especially being from Alabama, like they expect me to be racist, they expect all these things, but it's just not the case. But I think when Trump was elected, and like the week after, a lot of people just looked at me like, "What the fuck have y'all done?" Like what? Like they genuinely did. Like what have you done? Like, and especially in Germany, like, not to flare up anyone's belief. If you believe in Trump, good for you. I hope it works. I really do. But they're like, with all the parallels the media and everyone in the world is putting to it, the whole Hitler thing. Like they've seen what happens and how it starts slow and how these things and there's a lot of parallels between the ideas that about making jobs and feeding people jobs again. Like Hitler fucking fixed all the roads really well. Everyone had work. It was really good at first, So anyways, there have been a lot of people like that. And then since he became into office, anytime I have told anyone that I'm an American or met someone new, there's a different look. There's like oh fuck, like sucks to be not sucks to be you, but like it's different. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an American. They're like, oh okay, like this, it's a lot different. And the shit that he's pulled in the past few weeks has genuinely been shocking. And I think that even a lot of people that fully supported Trump have to be like, what? Like
odd timing for that.
What? You mean you fired your attorney general and then hired a guy who was too racist in the 80s? Can you imagine what too racist was in the 80s? Like what the fuck? like I don't know. Just there's some shit that just is truly insane.
It's been something, having a lot of friends who tour a lot and internationally and whatnot. I think I would like, in talking with some of these people, I always have kind of become more aware of, like, we're just kind of, with media being as accessible as it is, internationally and whatever, you have, the ability to learn about everything that's going on everywhere at a moment's notice. But something I've kind of been thinking of more is, and something I don't really know that people are kind of connecting the dots, but I feel like touring musicians such as yourself and some of my other friends have got to be more aware of the global climate of our politics, in general, just as a whole. In light of like what happened at the Bataclan with Eagles of Death Metal,
yeah, that's fucking dark.
The Paris attacks and so forth. It's like it's gotta be a little bit more harder, or make you think a little bit more before, instead of just being like, oh man, we're going to Paris, awesome. Like now when you go to places like this, are you kind of like, man, I really hope nothing happens? Like, no.
I think no. I think if you live your life in fear, you will get fear. If you live your life afraid of shit, you will get that shit. You will bring that into your life. People need to understand that the fucking president of the United States of America isn't going to make you happy or sad. Just live your fucking life and have fun. Don't worry about it all the time. Yes, I keep up with it. Yes, every time I wake up, there's, 8 hours of Twitter news and people talking about it and retweets, and I read some horrible, fucked up shit. But after I'm done, I'm pretty much going to do my own shit and be okay. You know what I mean? And there are times where you have to step up, and sure, going and protesting at the airports about that stuff is whatever. But going on what you said about touring musicians, when you tour and you travel, and you don't even have to be a touring musician, when you travel and when you experience other cultures, you realize more and more that there's pretty much nothing to be afraid of. People are fucking people. It's all the same everywhere. Most people just want to have fun and have a good life. You know what I mean? So there's not as much to be afraid of as most people think there is.
I guess that's just my perspective of always being here and not really traveling to too many places, and especially not anything out of the States. So, but it's just always been something I kind of been more aware of, I guess, and probably more so because it's like thinking about the family of the people who are touring and being like, oh, well, I saw on the news that this happened. Like, I'm already worried about you, but now I'm more so because I don't know if people just kind of don't realize that maybe touring isn't as what exactly people think it is. Like I was talking with TJ from Still Remains the other day, and he was, as we were talking about touring, I was like, man, he's like, don't get me started on talking about being on the road. I was like, what, being in a cramped van with 50 or 7 or 8 dudes farting on each other and getting to a venue and waiting around for 6-7 hours and having nothing to do. I was like, yeah, let's talk about that. So, I mean, I understand that it's not, like Rockstar movie and shit like that, where you're like doing a ton of blow and fucking a million people, anything like that. Like a lot of times it's kind of boring.
Yeah, but it's like we talked about in the beginning of this conversation. It's all in how you see it. Like
That's
I'm
true.
lucky enough to have the desire to be a photographer and wanting to explore.
How much of that though?
If I'm bored, I just get out and I go see shit. I'm not,
I was going to say,
how much of that is... those moments in the van when everyone's farting, you have fucking some great conversations and have some really good memories. Like, I have great memories of, like, singing Tenacious D in the Atreyu van. I also have memories of just sitting and watching Breaking Bad, like, 4 seasons in a row in the back of a van. You find ways to make it work. And, yes, parents and, your sister or your siblings can worry about it, but they also have to realize that it's not my fucking first day. And if I walk into a room, usually I can feel that something is wrong about this. Something fucked up is going to happen. You know what I mean? And you develop that shit when you're around. Like, there are certain alleys you just don't walk down. There are certain people you just don't, that invite you back to their house. You're like, nah, man, I'm cool. I feel like you're fucking, there's no devil, but I feel like you're the devil. Like, so like, I'm just gonna, no. It's a really cool guy that I met at 7 a.m. when I was really high in New Orleans on the street. No, man, I'm not going to go back to your place. That's a whole nother story. It's a weird story, but it was fun.
Another time, perhaps.
Exactly.
Kind of wrap this up now. Are there any socials that you want to plug for your photography or whatever?
Yeah, Instagram, Porter McKnight. You'll have, if you've clicked this, my name will be on there, spelled properly, hopefully. And then, just Instagram, really. It's everything photo-based. I post anything that's worthwhile seeing on that. If you want to see me retweet Manchester United or something about maybe once or twice about the government, I don't know. You'll see it. But on Twitter, but that's about it. Just Instagram.
Do you still have a website to
I do
buy
have
prints?
a website. That's a good point. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Nope.
I am going to be building one in the next few months, hopefully. And I want to get a print store up, because I've actually had a lot of people purchase prints recently and hit me up for prints. And we did this. Atreyu played this festival, our first festival called Foundation Fest that we started. That we'll be doing every year. I actually sold a lot of prints there, and I had like an iPad where I could let people choose, and I mailed it out. It was a wonderful thing, and a lot of people have been hitting me up about that. So you'll be able to buy prints through the website, and I'll personally make them all. I'm going to make a book with all my photos and travels and stories soon, I think, as well. But that'll just be portermcknight.com. It already exists now, but I think it's just a picture of fucking ocean or something.
Yeah, I have to stop being a shitty supporter and actually buy something, because typically I'm always like, yeah, I want this one. I still remember, and I know I bugged you about it incessantly about this shot that you did at Asbury Park on Taste of Chaos in like fucking '09 or something, or somewhere around there. But I never could find the photo specifically, and I remember seeing it on MySpace. And the last time I actually went back there to try to find it, that's just a whole abortion of a website now.
I don't even know what that looks like. Yeah, I mean, it just hit me up, and I can search through the archives and email. You have my information now. You know.
Yep. Well, I will let you get back to your. Let's see, you're 6 hours ahead, so your mid-afternoon evening.
Yeah, it's 4:15. I'm gonna take a shower, and we're gonna go probably eat some Korean food, maybe Chipotle, and then go to the event show.
All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for your time.
Thanks. It was a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Yeah, you as well.
Let's do it again.
For sure.
All right. Have a good one.
You as well. So that was my chat with Porter McKnight of the band Atreyu. Huge thanks goes out to him for agreeing to chat with me for a little over an hour. And hopefully you all enjoyed it and learned something new about a dude who doesn't typically do a whole lot of interviews or much press, really. Speaking of press, I want to give a shout out to the Talk To Me podcast, Jason and Mike over there, for constantly plugging my podcast every week, it seems. Greatly appreciated. They are in a position where they don't have to do that. Getting advertisers like they do, they don't have to give free shout outs. And as a new podcast who doesn't have the resources or things of that nature to get a wide reach, it is greatly appreciated that they do that for me and share the love. And if you have heard anything that I've done and come over from that podcast, thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoy what we, like there's a collective we, it's me. Hopefully you enjoy what I am doing over here and the guests that I get every week. Also, huge thanks to Tony Norkus, a local photographer here in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area, and my friend Mike Hafer. They both have contributed to this podcast. As you probably will notice, I have a nice looking photo and a slick looking logo now. That is in no small part to the help that Tony and Mike did in the past week and a half, making me look more official than I probably should. So huge thanks go to them. Hafer isn't really in the business of doing design work or whatever, but I guess if you are interested in his work or want any help, he can be found at Mike Hafer on Facebook. So there's that. And for Tony Norkus, same. He's under Anthony Norkus Photography on Facebook. If you go to his Instagram, it is under Norkus A, Norkusa. And socials, I actually have them. So if you would be so inclined, you can head over to Facebook. It's facebook.com/John's Untitled Podcast, all one word, John's, Jons. I don't have an H in my name. Twitter, John's Untitled Pod. Instagram is also John's Untitled Podcast. Email, john'suntitledpodcast@gmail.com. So if you're so inclined to reach out and see what bullshit I'm up to, that is where you can do it. Typically, you will find, at least across most of the other socials like Instagram, photos of the records I bought, probably photos of my dog, and podcast stuff and me drinking. So if that sounds like a good time, head on over. End this podcast like we typically do with a song. This episode's a little bit different. Porter decided to go a different route, and instead of choosing one of his own songs, chose a song that he had been listening to quite a bit and really wanted to play. And it's a band that kind of, or it's an artist, I should say, that actually is kind of in the wheelhouse of what I've been into lately. It's been no secret that I've been into the Chris Stapleton album, Traveler. I was actually playing it when I called Porter, and he heard it in the background and thought maybe I was listening to Sturgill Simpson. So the song to close out the podcast is going to be Sturgill Simpson, Turtles All the Way Down. It's a little bit different, but I've actually been really digging it, and I think hopefully you all will too. So without further ado, Sturgill Simpson, Turtles All the Way Down. Enjoy the rest of your week.
I've seen Jesus play with flames in a lake of fire. I was standing in. Met the devil in Seattle. Spent 9 months inside the lion's den. Met Buddha yet another time. He showed me a glowing light within. But I swear that God is there every time I go to the eyes of my best friend. Says, my son, it's all been done. someday gonna wake up old and gray. Go and try and have some fun, showing warmth to everyone. Meet and greet, cheat along the way. There's a gateway in our minds that leads somewhere out there, far beyond this plane. We're reptile aliens made of light, cut you open, pull out all your pain. Tell me how you make it legal, something that I'll make in our brain. Some say you might go crazy, then again it might make you go insane. Every time you take a look inside that old fabled book, blinded and blinded and pain caused by some old man in the sky. Marijuana, LSD, psilocybin, DMT, they all change the way I see. Love's the only thing that ever saved my life. So don't waste your mind on nursery rhymes, fairy tales, blood and wine. Turtles on the way down the line. So to each their own, so we go home. Other realms our souls must roam to and through. Live that we all call space and time.